च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। We have gone ahead, but then again, just to go back in that sloka, Puramekadashadvaram ajasya avakrachetasah anushtai nashochati vimuktascha vimuktai vimuchyate. That is 221. Second chapter, अपना
fifth chapter.
पांच में एक पांच में एक नंबर we have discussed. So it's one thing, the type of mukti that is talked about. That is, he says vimuchyate, vimuktascha vimuchyate, is free from the cycle of birth and death. Now, what type of mukti that is being talked about? किस तरीके मुक्ति की हम बात करते हैं? Because in whether supposing a person gets jnana, he realizes, yes. Now what happens to him? How does he live afterwards? Because जो आत्मा तो देह के साथ कोई संबंध नहीं रह सकता है. There cannot be any connection with the deha. If there is no connection with the body, how that person will live? So, normally the idea of Jivan Mukti is that even while living in this body, he gets the highest knowledge, and that is the end of it. Now, as against that, there is another concept also called Videha Mukti, where the final Mukti is realized after the body drops off or the person does not come back. So, technically, if you say that after jnana, if a person has realized jnana, he cannot live in this world because he cannot have any body. They are all linked to anatman, relating to the perishable, which is anitya, etc. So, if a person lives, then he has not got jnana. That should be the logical thing. But then Shankaracharya says that all the other karmas except prarabdha are removed. That's what he is trying to give an interpretation in his bhashya. Prarabdha alone remains. See, then they give several explanation. Just as a potter, when he makes that pot, jo ghumta hai na. So even if he has taken out the pot, but still that momentum will keep it going for some more time. So in that way, although he has realized because of the prarabdha, the body continues. Of course, it's very clear, he has no kartritva bhoktritva bhava. I am the karta, I am the bhokta, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. All those things are not there. He just, Bangla একটা কথা আছে ঝড়ের রেটপাতা. Just like the dry leaf in a wind, it's being carried everywhere. It has no volition of its own or its own determination, not of its sweet will. That's one thing. So, and again, there are very, very strong arguments against it. Also, some other school says, no, that cannot be. Prarabdha also means you require body for that. So how can a person who is completely realized have body consciousness? Then Shankaracharya says, Pratyaksha has precedence over Anumana. What happens after Jnana? It's a surmise, it's Jnana, it's Anumana. Na? But Pratyaksha is we see Brahmagya Purushas living. So we have to take that into account, that gets precedence. So they still retain some karma. Karma lesh take. Just a trace of karma remains in them. That's why Thakur says, Shankaracharya Gyaner Pore Vidyarami Rekechile. He has retained the ahankar, aham of Vidya for Lokashika. For the, even if you take Thakur's case, after being immersed in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 8 months, how did his body continue to stay? There was no way he could have lived. Because in his way, because Thakur is the samanmaya of everything, jnana, bhakti, yoga and all that. So he got thrice the mandate from mother or the direction from mother, you stay in Bhavamukha. Bhavamukha thako. Ekbar Othir Mas somebody said like that, there are 3 places. So it's a very extremely very unique and unheard of person who goes into the highest samadhi, and then he can come down and also make fun with the youngsters and ask for jalebi and things like that. So it is all, that's why he says the experiences of this have gone far beyond the scriptures. So anyway, so Shankaracharya says that you have to accept that still there is some trace of the karma in that person. Otherwise, such a person cannot live, cannot function. But we see that Brahmagya Purushas are living. But there's a whole world of difference between their living and normal person. Even if we take the case of Thakur, before also he stayed in the Dakshineshwar temple. उनकी वहाँ का बर्तन वगैरह कोशाकोशी मंदिर का सब कुछ देखा, the office clerks and others, he was mixing. Then उनका क्या, after his highest knowledge, he saw only consciousness, he did not see any form. उनका रूप और नाम का कुछ दर्शन नहीं हुआ, ऐसे नहीं है. But there is a qualitative difference in his experience. साधारण व्यक्ति जो जगत का जो अनुभव करते हैं, एक ब्रह्मज्ञ व्यक्ति का अनुभव इसके बहुत फर्क बन जाता है. So he used to see its Chaitanya itself permeating in and through all those forms, all those individuals, बहुत सारे कुछ. So somehow till such time the purpose for which they came to this earth is exhausted. If they are Adhikarika Purushas, if they are Avatara Purushas, or in other cases, till the little prarabdha gets exhausted, somehow the body continues to stay. ये शरीर रह जाता है, लेकिन उसका बहुत कुछ ऐसा कभी भी that main problem with our bodily existence is the idea I am the karta, I am the bhokta, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. ये हम लोग का पूरा खत्म कर देता है. So these 2 things are totally absent from such a person. So this sloka, this idea needs to be thought of and then understood. And also, this sloka also we saw, again just to see, that is Chauta, 4th sloka, the same. Asya Vishramsamanasya Sharirastasya Dehinaha Dehat Vimuchyamanasya Kimatra Parishishyate. So, when it gets completely detached, is Atman. And what does it remain? Somebody seems asked Buddha, what remains, what happens after Nirvana, what remains? And since Buddha said that, supposing there is a light or a candle, supposing you blow it off, what remains of that light? Like that. So, in that way, there is completely, there is what remains there is that only that self and nothing else. That is there is nothing connecting, and nothing connected with his body, mind, etc. So that alone remains. That means which is anyway all pervasive, everywhere it is. In that way, it is there. not in any individual sense. You can also know we saw this sloka number 7. योनिमन्ये प्रबध्यन्ते शरीरत्वाय देहिनः स्थाणुमन्ये अनुसंयन्ति यथा कर्म यथा श्रुतम्. Embodied souls, depending upon their work and knowledge, have a body again, going through the process of rebirth. So, that's what the idea of rebirth. Whatever you do, unless you get the highest knowledge, you'll have to come back again. So in that, we keep on doing so many actions, largely because of prarabdha. See, karma is a huge storage. आपके पास बहुत बड़ा भंडार है, बड़ा है उसमें. So now we know that we start immediately operating in this life is that prarabdha. So prarabdha इसलिए आपका जीवन के अंतिम काल में, that's why they say, whatever you do, that kind of comes as a prarabdha in the next birth, and that kind of shapes your life. That's why there's a famous Raja Bharat, he was thinking of the deer, deer, deer. So like that. So in that, if you do, that's why again it is said that आप भगवान नाम लेते रहो, अनवरत लेते रहो, क्योंकि because there are also some schools that somebody I think here asked last moment if I say Narayana, first of all it will never come at last moment. So they say that constantly if you keep on doing, it's possible at that point of time you may still remember the Lord, and that may give you a better this thing. Of course, in Gita also there are so many ideas, Suchinam Srimatam Dehe Yoga Prashto Vijayate. Even if you are a sadhaka, then if you don't get knowledge also, at the end of the life we have developed as a great sadhaka, your next birth will continue as a sadhaka one. You can continue wherever you have left it. Otherwise, you have done good karmas, you will be born in a wealthy family, maybe in Adani's family or Ambani's family like that, and you may start with a silver spoon, even from the birth itself. It's all possible. So, the point is, everything in the our Hindu idea, everything is all very well defined and clearly mentioned. Whatever you do, you have to bear the result of your actions. So, just as whatever in the past we did is determining our life, if you do now, that will determine your immediate next birth by way of prarabdha. And so that's why it's important to live the present life wonderfully. People, otherwise we think that prarabdha, हमने तो कुछ करना नहीं है, वह जैसे ही चलेगा. No, there is a window, there is a free will. Thakur himself says, even that Purushakar also Bhagwan ही देते हैं आपको. He only makes you do certain good things. So if you attempt like that, then it is possible that you can shape your next janma accordingly. Here it says, Sa Esha Supteshu Jagartir. Next sloka, na? 8th. Kamam Kamam Purusho Nirmimanaha. Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma. Tadeva Amritam Uchyate. Tasmin Loka Sritaha Sarve Tadunatyeti Kaschana Etad Vaitat. Again he reminds him, remember that this is that, not anything else, the same self. Says, Yeshu Supteshu Jagartir Kamam Kamam Purusho Nirmimana. When all beings are asleep, there is one being who is awake and he goes on, producing whatever you had desired, whatever you had thought of. So, what happens? How does, there are so many theories about dreams also. Normally, according to the Hindu idea, the best understood way of dream is whatever you have done, all that by way of samskaras, whatever is in the mind. Because, in the dream, the indriyas are totally, non-functional. All your karmendriyas are totally, silent, or they don't function. They are not present at all that way. But yet, you see everything. lot of action, lot of things happening, and you are going and traveling. How is it that you are lying on the bed? How can you travel to America? Huh? So, Imanji to chale gaya Sweden to be with his grandson. But then, but he's on his bed. So like that, so many things keep happening. So how is it? See, there is also, it is, the dream is also quite different from smriti or remembrance. Shruti mein kya hai? See, because if you think that that's also samskara, this is also samskara, the difference is, in smriti, when you think of past action, you clearly know it is happening only in the mind. You don't see the external manifestation. बाहर आपका कुछ नहीं दिखाएगा, आप ही जानते हैं मैं मन ही मन उसका स्मृतिचारण कर रहा हूँ, फिर मैं वही जगह पे जाके उसकी अनुभव मन में लेना चाहता हूँ. But in the dream, although everything is happening in the mind, you clearly see all outside. All physically, everything is seen outside. Only when you wake up, you know that it was all dream and it was not there. In dream, they are all absolutely real and you clearly see them. See, that's why whatever you had experienced in the Jagrat Avastha, in the waking world, either in this birth, perhaps even earlier births, they kind of, in the mind, they are shaped. So sometimes, it may not be exactly that, but it will be relevant. Maybe you saw gold in the waking state. You saw also a mountain. You may see a golden mountain in sleep, in the dream. Of course, it doesn't happen like that, but you might see. So there may be asangati or inconsistency or that kind of irrelevance in dream, but there are, the basis of all that is, whatever you have experienced, all that. But then, in this mind also, by itself, it's not able to reveal all that. Again, it is to depend upon the Atman. This is further justified when you go to deep sleep. आपकी गंभीर निद्रा में जो सपना विहीन जो निद्रा जो आपका मिलता है, you get the sleep without dreams. There what happens? There only the total blankness. But you know that something was there because when you get up, you clearly say that I slept very well. I was so happy. मैं आनंद में रहा. बहुत सुंदर तरीका नींद हुआ. So that means what? There is some witness, this Atman, which is present every time, everywhere. That is what gives you the feeling of existence. That is what gives you the feeling of Ananda. Similarly, in the dream, so many things keep happening. Everything is all because of that Brahman. Although it is all happening in the Antakarana at the level of the mind, behind that is the Atman that is making all these happen. And that is what is giving credence to the dreams, which look so real, which are so powerful. And then, Tadeva Shukram Tad Brahma, that is, it is pure, that Brahman. Tadeva Amritamachyute is also described as immortal. क्योंकि ब्रह्म की तो कोई जन्म मरण नहीं है, उसका कोई कर्म कुछ नहीं है, खंडन कुछ नहीं है, is eternal, permanent, without birth, without death, ever present, omnipresent, everything, omniscient. So that is why it's called immortal, because it doesn't ever cease to exist. Tasmin lokaha sitaha. All the words are supported by him. Okay, again and again he is emphasizing the same ideas. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you experience, it's all because of that Brahman only. So etat baitat, this is that truly, that Brahman. Again and again he is asserting. Then we come to Sloka 11. 2-4. No, there is chapter 4, Sloka 11. Huh? No, 5. Chapter 5, Sloka 11. Suryo yata sarvalokasya chakshur na lipyate chakshur chakshushir bahya doshehi ekastata sarvabhutantaratma na lipyate loka dukke na bahyaha. It's another very good idea. Just as Suryo yata sarvalokasya chakshu. Sun is the eye, only eye of all, and yet na lipate chakshushir bahya doshi. Yet it is not contaminated by the blemishes in the eyes of people. In the same way, ekastata sarvabhutantaratma, though the self of all, na lipate loka dukkhena bahyaha. You see, Surya, we see because of the sun. Without sun, we cannot see. That is the chakshusha chakshu. That is the. But then, are we, if you have cataract or something, glaucoma, etc., is the sun affected? Or the dust, this, that falls? Surya is not at all affected. Because we are able to see because of the sun ultimately. Because indriya to mind, mind to buddhi, buddhi to avyakta, etc., then Atman. So everything is shining by the light of the Atman. So in the way the Surya, the sun is also shining. Otherwise, the Surya itself cannot be prakashaman. So, but at the same time, all the defects of all the people in the world, although he is the eye of everything, yet it is not affected in the least. Because this question why it comes, we say he is sarvabhyapi, sarvabhuta antaratma, he is in everything, he is pervading everywhere, he is in me, in you, everywhere. Then I am suffering, I have dukkha, I have problems. Does Brahman also have problem? Uska bhi kya aisa hoga? वो तो सब में है बोल रहे हैं, is everywhere. So then how is it? Then he says no, although it is part of everything, it is not at all affected because of course there are so many ways, these are all discussed. One thing is because if you take it from the highest point of view, there is only Brahman, there is nothing else. Sukha, dukkha, sab to imagined hai. Kiska sukh hai, kiska dukh hai. So everything is only imposed, aropita, kalpita. Sachmuch mein aisa kuch nahi hai. So then it's only because we are identified with the body and mind. But dehabhimani buddhi se hum log sukh dukh anubhav karte hain. Is it not? Even see how this is very clear. If you search a little, even in our own little way, every now and then we feel that it doesn't touch us. See, there was one of our monks, he is a doctor by qualification, but he has back pain. So he will not, जैसे हम लोग झुके प्रणाम करते वो नहीं करता, ऐसे करते. Everybody knows. So he is, and his chair is very special with special padding, and his stethoscope also he has put extra rubber so that he can test like that. And nobody has seen him sitting. Jameen to duri baat hai. Even normal chairs also he will not sit. But in 1986, there was a World Cup in Mexico. फुटबॉल वर्ल्ड कप हुआ था मेक्सिको में. उसकी सारे मैचेस रात भारत में 10 से 4 बजे तक टेलीकास्ट होता था. फ्रॉम 10 to 4 all the 3 matches will be continuously telecast in India. So this Swami, बेलूर मठ में तो आपका तो टीवी शब्द ही बहुत बड़ा अपराध है. At those times, in 86, now maybe individually also having small TVs, I don't know. Those days it was so, but somehow this one small black and white TV was there in the library, so you would somehow get the key, and night all the matches he sat on the floor and watched. How it is possible? So every one of us, we experience moments when we simply overcome the idea of the body. Normally, supposing Neeru's daughter, suddenly she gets a call that Neeru is having headache or something. She's simply lying down thinking of Thakur. Then suddenly, it's a call from his son, Ashim. Ma, I have come to the city. I'm just rushing home. I have only 1 hour. Then I have to immediately go for the conference. Will she be lying? अरे छोड़ो, इतना बनो असीम क्या पसंद है नहीं ऐसा बनाते हैं सबके. असीम आया, बहुत गले लगाया, acting. अरे असीम, suddenly you came. Mama, I cannot give notice. It was so sudden. Everything over. Ashim goes again. Neeru lies down. See, she was not acting. when Niru came, she was not acting as if she had no headache. Because, each one of us has, that is, when we really assert ourselves, suddenly the powers beyond our body, they manifest. But what Shastra says, it cannot be sporadic or choosy. इसके लिए आपका सिर दर्द के लिए असीम के अमेरिका से आना पड़ेगा, then that is meaningless. But if you do sadhana like that consistently, it's possible to completely, that's what all these prove that we are not really the body. If it is only the body, you can never get rid of it. It will not go away because if some X comes or Y comes, if something happens or something doesn't happen. So that means what? Intrinsically this is true. But kaise siddha hota hai? Only when you consistently do practice, sadhana, etc., then it is not because of a particular occurrence or particular time or a particular event. All the time, consistently, you are with the idea that you are not the body. See, will they not have such kind of then illnesses or this or that? In one class, somebody asked me, Maharaj, Thakur was God. Why did he get cancer? I said, if not cancer, he would have got heart attack. Somewhere the body has to go, na? So that doesn't mean, it doesn't limit their extraordinariness. So when the body, it will follow its dharma. Sharir apna dharma manenge, palenge. But that will not, see, that is the difference between a Brahmagya Purusha and an ordinary person. An ordinary person is completely tied down by the idea of body and mind. Every little thing affects him so badly, it affects the body, it affects the mind and keeps on suffering endlessly. But Brahmagya Purusha very quickly, even if anything comes right in front, it used to reveal in such a way that immediately the idea that I am not the body. So not only that, see, it's possible sometimes, you can have it that's what we saw in the Ramana Maharshi's case also, in the case of many others, even many ordinary, even sadhus have done number of years of sadhana, they have also felt that it is. So, that is how, how does Tarati Shokam Atmavit mean? There won't any death will not happen or illness will not come, nothing. All that will come, they will not touch him. That is the difference. Sarati, see, Jahati, Sukha Dukkha Jahati, we saw. That doesn't mean that there won't be any Sukha or Dukkha. Thakur, when he takes jalebi, does it taste salty? No, it tastes sweet only. But if you take a jalebi, we keep on thinking, when we will get the next one, kis dukaan se le aaya, kya hua, nahi hua. Then he comes, he is thinking, and then suddenly he forgets the whole thing. It's all gone completely. So, none of the experiences, see, all the experiences that we go through bind us more and more to the world, more and more to that punarbharth, etc., etc. Because constantly all our experiences are with the full idea, I am the karta, I am the bhokta. That ahang is there, that dehabhimani is there, I am the deha, I am the mind. But if you do it without that, whatever you do will not touch you. You will also be functioning like normal people. That's what was Thakur going Gagan Marg se Akash Marg mein se Balram Mandir jate the. He also used to go by carriage, he also used to go by boat. They will do. So, for a Brahmagyani, the world does not change, the world view changes. जिस तरीका वो जगत के देखते हैं, हर अनुभव का देखते हैं, हर अनुभव उनका हो रहा है, उसमें फर्क बन जाते हैं. That becomes totally different. That's the difference. Otherwise, that's why I don't go to any drama or cinema of Thakur. They make him always ऐसे झुके रखते हैं, पागल की तरह. He was the sanest of persons. He was not mad at all. So because of Brahmagyani, they want to, because we have such a poor conception, we think that it was, it's very normal. But then the way they experience, the way they relate, the way they understand, how it is, then that becomes very different. The quality totally different. So Nisa, somebody was standing in the Calcutta, I was going. That person, she was a fallen woman. Oh, आप यही रूप में मेरा दर्शन देना चाहते हो? You want to give me, reveal yourself in this form? That was it. So, there is neither any condemnation nor एकदम overwhelming, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. जैसे ही सत्य जैसे ही प्रतीत होता है उनके सामने, the way it is revealed, that's how it is accepted by them. So, that makes a very big difference. Then, again, in the 16th sloka, it is 13. Nityo nityanam chetana chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman tamatmastam ye anupashyanti dhiraha tesham shantihi shashvati netiresham. That is, who is the permanent among the impermanent? Because everything we see in this world, everything we experience, everything is anitya only. The only nitya vastu is Brahman. Again, Chetanas Chetananam. Here he is not saying conscious among the unconscious. He says conscious among the conscious. Why? Because, we experience some consciousness in all that we see. That idea is there. But the real consciousness is Brahman. Because of that, all these things get their borrowed consciousness. That reflected consciousness. That Chaitanya. Abhasa Chaitanya. The experience. Eko Bahunam. And is able to, and Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. Is able to fulfill the wishes of many. Many ki sabko. Jitne bhi hai. All our things, Kaman is saying, that means all that we do, all that we desire, all that we plan, everything is achieved only because of that Brahman. Tam Asmastvam, only those have who see him as their self. Tam Atmastvam, who they see themselves as that. Ye Atmastam Anupashyanti, Dhiraha, they are called Dhiras. Tesham Shashpati Shanti. They alone get lasting peace. Na itiresham, not others. In the world also we see people living happily, oh so अच्छे है. All that will, कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ होगा ही होगा. Today or tomorrow something will go wrong. Anything, anywhere, because, why? Because by the very nature they are impermanent. Impermanent की तो permanence आप नहीं दे सकते. What that we call as happiness, or that we call as happiness, shanti, this, that, whatever we do in this world, all are only temporary because by their very nature they are like that. It is not that if you go to the source, if you imagine them, they are all because they will all vanish because they are all there only because of Brahman. So, only those who realize themselves as that Atman. Because, it goes beyond sorrow. That is, it does not experience sukha or dukkha. And because, why again is mentioning probably in this world, one thing which every individual seeks is shanti. Paisa hai ki nahi theek hai. Even you can live, people can live with less money, less goods, less comforts. But ashanti koi nahi chahte. Everyone wants peace of mind. So that's why he says, we all seek constantly by doing this, doing that, acquiring things, maybe even giving some dana, dakshina, this, that, puja, part, so many ways. By changing jobs, changing spouses, changing houses, changing goods, changing things. So many ways we try. But all these are all only temporary, very short-lived. Because, why? There's a basic galad, मूल में ही गलत है. Because अनात्मन का कैसे आप आत्मा सोचेंगे तो होगा नहीं. Everything that is, there's one Atman, everything is an Atman. So all our achievements, all our efforts, सब तो अनात्म की तरह से हो रहा है. All our things are all based on impermanence. That which is based on impermanence or anitya will collapse one day or other. So ultimately, that is the only thing, and one who is able to do that way, do sadhana, work hard for that, then and only then such a person is able to achieve that ultimate peace. So if you really want peace of mind, then you have to achieve that at the highest level. Because they say, even in a small way, how is it that Holy Mother could never see the faults of others? किसी को दोष देख नहीं पाते थे. It is given in so many instances how even Golapma went and complained, oh, there's no point in telling you because you will never see the defects of others. Why should I come and tell you like that? So one thing is, even in her younger days, she used to tell later on, just as I used to pray to moon, आपका भी थोड़ा कलंक है लेकिन मेरा मन में कभी कुछ न हुआ ऐसा. My mind never have the least of contamination. Even the moon has something. But then, so many other qualities she was blessed with, She was so wonderful, so spiritually inclined, everything. Apart from that, probably, she had that vision. Sarvabhutasta Atmanam. Seeing that oneness everywhere. See, because otherwise, when you see a person, immediately the first thing that strikes you is the defects. Everything we see, So, unless you are able to get over that, unless you see some kind of a superior idea, oneness, that is the way one can probably. So, why Ashanti? All our Ashanti is because we see difference, we see defect, we see something else, we see all that. So, anything, that is, see, the Dvaita itself means dukkha. When you see a second thing, immediately there is loss of peace of mind, there is dukkha, there is suffering, there is difference of opinion, everything is generated just by the presence of Dvaita itself. The moment you have a second thing, gone. If you are in the whole room, there is nobody else, you are peaceful. The moment one person enters, Arey, why do you open this door? Why do you open this window? Put on the fan, Arey, mera turn lag raha hai. Close it. So it will start. The moment the second Dvaita means problem. So, if a person completely realizes oneness with the Atman, Shanti, because Ashanti so Dvaita se paida hota hai na. If there is no second thing, where is the question of Ashanti? So it's a complete peace only. So his person is completely established in a state of peace. That's what it says. Then the 14th sloka says, Tadedat iti manyante anirdeshyam paramam sukam katam no tat vijaniyam kimu bhati vibhati va. It is that indefinable great bliss. Manyante anirdeshyam paramam sukam. It cannot be identified or defined. ऐसा उसके बोलना संभव नहीं है. Because, why? Because all descriptions can come only with the words, with the mouth. These are all again perishable, anitya, which are of the dehabhimani, body, mind say. So obviously, it cannot be defined at all because all definitions will come only from that. That's why, the highest idea of Advaita is complete silence, total silence. Such a person does not speak at all because speaking itself means coming down. Total silence. So, anirdeshyam paramam sukam, it cannot be. The sages are, when they say it is this, that is it. Brahman is that bliss. That Brahman is his bliss. How can he know whether this bliss? Katam no tat vijaniyam. How can he know whether it is self-relieving or is it revealed through the mind and intellect? Katam tat vijaniyam kimu bhati vibhati va. Why? Because, see, the bliss, that ananda that is realized at the highest is, naturally, it is beyond description, it's beyond this thing. Because it cannot be described, it is anirvachaniya ananda then. And then, of course, that is what the sages, those who have really, those who have realized, they think that this is that etat, it is this. That means Brahman is this bliss. Brahman is, Sachit Ananda Swarup. Great sages think that it is this, means it is of the nature of bliss. But then, again this doubt comes, Kim u bhati vibhati va. whether it is self-revealing or it is revealed through the mind and the intellect. Because finally, how does it happen? How really such a knowledge or such an idea comes into, ultimately, whatever we have to know through the mind and intellect only. Is it not? It is स्वयं प्रकाश, स्वप्रकाश, यही भाषा उसके बारे में हमेशा हम लोग यूज करते हैं. But then if it is स्वप्रकाश, स्वप्रकाश to whom? How does a person who has realized the Brahman, how is it known by him? Is it through mind and the intellect? So this doubt comes. Finally, what is the point? Otherwise, nothing is known at all. If it is Swayam Prakash, let it be Swayam Prakash. Mera kya hai uske saath lena dena? How does it bind me? How am I connected? So they say that normally what does all perception take place? We also talked briefly about that. When you see item, so the eyes come near that. There is a sanidhya. I am seeing this table because my eyes are near that. Then from this the eyes take the essence and present to the mind, and the mind does a table akar vritti man mein uday ho jata hai. So this akar, this table akar vritti, it is not really that kind of a real shape. It is something, because if that is so, how do you experience sukha? Sukha is also an experience. Just as you see table or you experience table, you experience sukha also. Sukha ke baare mein kya vritti, kya akar ho sakta hai? How can sukha be drawn in the form of akar? So they say this table akar but sukha akar means it is the vritti that is capable of distinguishing it from something else. आप मन में तो 1000 वृत्तियां हैं. So this is shown as distinctly different from others. That is what is called Ghatakara vritti or Tabulakara vritti or whatever it is. Sukhakara vritti. Sukha also is present in the mind in such a way that is दूसरे से पृथक करके, that is known as something different. Then the mind is able to, then the mind is presents to buddhi and buddhi is able to recognize, and then all is coming through the idea of the Atman, etc. So in the same way, how does it happen in the case of when you do sadhana? When the Brahma Jnana happens, whatever. So, but then to reveal this table or gata or anything, the vritti can happen, but then this, unless that abhasa chaitanya throws its prakash on that, the vastu is not revealed. Because here the eyes to Surya to that Atman. So the light of the Chaitanya of the borrowed Chaitanya of Atman, the reflected Chaitanya of Atman, when it is thrown on the item, then only it prakashman ho jata hai, because before that akar, that vritti happens in the mind. So in the case of, they say, in the case of this Brahman or that ultimate knowledge, what happens is similarly when to the great sadhana, etc., the mind, when it approaches that, again this Brahmakara vritti also happens. So this Brahmakara vritti का क्या है? Brahmakara vritti के main उसके काम और उसकी कार्य क्या है? Completely it destroys all the ignorance. Unlike the other vrittis, the difference of this vritti is, this Brahmakara vritti completely जो अनात्मन के बारे में जो ज्ञान है उसका संपूर्ण रूप से हटा देता है. When all the anatman goes away, Atman becomes Swayam Prakash. Here, unlike the Gata, etc., that borrowed Chaitanya is not necessary for revealing it. Its own, because it is Swayam Prakash, it reveals itself. At that time, the Brahmakara vritti gets completely subsumed in that Brahman itself. Unlike in the normal experience, what happened? It comes back, retains individuality, it is shown as something, and हम लोग को इसकी अनुभूति होती है. But there, it completely, it goes to remove all the ajnana or the covering, all those that is preventing that vision or the revelation of the Brahman. And then, because it is Swayam Prakash, then at that time, the Brahmakara Bhakti also becomes completely lighted up by that, and it loses its individuality and becomes kind of merged with that Atman itself. So that's why there is a subtle difference between the normal perception or whatever we experience and what is here, how does it. So that's why he's asking, Kimu Bhati, whether it is self-revealing or it is true. It is self-relieving. At the same time, it uses the instruments of man and buddhi, etc. to that extent. And finally, a person who has experienced that, he knows it instinctively, yes, this is what it is. And then that is what. So normally this Brahmagyana, the knowledge of Brahman, the Shastras accept several types of pramana. Pratyaksha. Obviously it is not pratyaksha. It is not really seen like that. And also, it is not upama. It cannot be compared to something else. और उसकी तरह ये तो बोल नहीं सकते हम लोग. You can say, oh, this is like another steel stick, I can say. पर लेकिन इसमें तो ऐसे कोई compare करके ब्रह्म के साथ तुलना करना कुछ भी नहीं है. So, it is the anumana combined with shabda. Shabda is, what we hear from those who have realized, those aptakamas, shastras. Along with that, the inference. This is how it happens. And finally, that is how you are getting some idea of the ultimate Brahman or the reality or truth.
Anumana is
inference. Inference.
My own, but Shabda is from my.
Yeah, Shastra and the Aptavakyas, those who have realized, those who have already got it from them. That's how it is. 10 minutes. Any questions? And of course, otherwise we can finish this.
Maharaj, can you explain more this Brahmakar Vritti?
No, that's what, you see, the
Vritti is tendency.
No, Vritti is the arising out of thought in the mind.
So thought.
So, that's why first of all we must understand how the normal experience or perception happens. They always take the example of a ghata. When the ghata is there, how you see the ghata, how the process by which the ghata is seen, how the experience of seeing the ghata takes place. Ghata is there and your eyes are uske sannidhya mein aa jate, comes near that. Then what happened? The eyes are the thing, they first grasp the essence of this ghata and transfer it to the mind. Then the eyes, unka kaam ho gaya. Then eyes are no longer in the picture. Then the mind, what happens is, because of that, in the mind, it forms a ghatakara vritti. Here this ghatakara is not like any drawing or a physical shape or anything. It is a vritti which is capable of distinguishing it from another thing. Ghata as an independent entity that is distinguished in the mind, that is ghatakara vritti. So this is ghatakara vritti. Again, by the power of the Atman, the reflected Chaitanya or Abhasa Chaitanya of Atman, the revelation happens. First, there is this Ghatakara Vritti in the mind, and then, so actually, although we say we are physically seeing it, really it happens through the mind and further only. Why? Because sometimes somebody, even Siraj, such a hefty, fine person is sitting before me, I don't see him. मेरा मन नहीं था. मेरा दूसरा कुछ सोच रहा था. I was thinking something. Does it not happen? So, it is not exactly the eyes. The act of seeing, it starts with the eyes. They bring those information, they classified information into the mind. But the real seeing happens through the mind only ultimately. So then, through that, it takes shape, and then also, the vritti also is not sufficient. Because of the Chaitanya, Abhasa Chaitanya of Atman, then that revelation happens, then finally the perception of Ghata happens. But in the case of Brahmakara Vritti also they say, as you do practice, so then you hear, know everything about that, this is nature, etc. Then again, so because you can say it is not a object like Ghata or anything, then how about Sukha Anubhuti kaisi hoti hai? How do you get the idea, the experience of sukha? That's also like that. Sukha का भी एक आकार होता है मन में. And that is also like that. It is not any shape or form like that. The same way, knowing, studying, reading, everything, constantly contemplating, smaran, manan, nididhyasan, then that Brahmakara vritti, although you give up everything else, negate, that has to be there. So again, somewhere we'll see that later on the difference between yoga, samadhi and this. Because without that, Vedantins say that, see, because yoga, we'll discuss little more detail later, where it says, yoga, chittavritti nirodha is saying yoga. According to yoga, the samadhi, where this complete cessation of all the vritti is samadhi. But Vedanta doesn't accept that. You can give up all vrittis, but without Brahmakara vritti, the final realization of the Atman doesn't take place, they say. Then this Brahmakara vritti, again gives that kind of little in the mind. But then in this Brahmakara vritti, what happens? As you learn more about it, all the ignorance surrounding the Brahman or Atman is destroyed. That is what happens through this Brahmakara vritti. You, by practicing Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasana, Vairagya, Nitya, everything, finally with this one vritti, you are able to remove all the surrounding ajnana or anatma jnana or ignorance about Atman. They are all removed there. And then now, the revelation ke liye, you don't need any borrowed Chaitanya, because the Atman itself is Chaitanya Swarup. Then they say this Brahmakara vritti completely kind of gets submerged in that light of Atman or the Prakash of the Atman. So that's why it is not seen as separate. As in the case of Ghata, finally that produces a separate effect. There the separate effect is not there. It gets kind of completely merged there.
What is the difference between samadhi and
Samadhi we'll see later. Huh?
What is the difference between samadhi and samadhi?
No, there are samadhi, there are serious types of samadhi, nivrikalpa samadhi, savikalpa samadhi. So that we cannot go too much into detail. Sahaja samadhi is what they used to say about Ramana Maharshi. He would always be like that, as if he is looking at you, as if he is participating, he is there in the room, but he is always in that. It's very natural. Normally samadhi means you have to sit, you have to do everything, you have to practice, you have to asana, this. But he is always in that Sahaj Bhavsi samadhi me like that. But I don't know whether it's classically in the yoga text there is this samadhi, some of the text is there, I don't know. Sahaj samadhi is what they used to talk about Ramana Maharshi.
So obviously is reflected consciousness same as Atma and is situated in the cave of the heart?
No. See, reflected Atma is of the nature of Swayam Prakash. Atma is Prakash. Atma is Sachit Ananda. Everything. Atma is that complete light. So when it falls on the mind, buddhi, chitta, etc., there the reflected consciousness. Otherwise, mind, buddhi, chitta cannot function. All their function is because of the reflected, the consciousness which is of the nature of light, which is nature of, that is reflected in the mind, buddhi, etc., then they become active.
So is it Chidabhas?
Yes.
Is it located somewhere?
No. It's everywhere. Everywhere. Whatever you see in the world, everything is because of the light only. It's everywhere. It has no location in that sense. Chalo. Yeah. After tea.